And we are live. So, Mikhail, great to see you. And thank you, because
Likewise.
you just told me before we hopped on here that your next book is due tomorrow. I know how that feels. um,
No, it's
so,
not. It's not the last deadline. It's going to be published in November. So I'm
oh, is
just
it?
working. I'm just working. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. So remind us, what's this one on? What's this one that you're doing that's coming?
This one is about the collapse of Soviet Union. Uh, but basically it's the story how we got into the current situation. This is the story of the current generation of Russian politics, including Vladimir Putin, how Soviet Union collapsed, um, partly
Right.
because no one believed in communism, so ideologically it was not relevant. Um,
Oh, how fascinating. Well,
yeah,
I can't wait when we're closer into that. I can't wait to have lots of conversations with you um, about that. But let's kick off today with what you just wrote here on Substack this morning, right?
yeah,
Because so May 9th is a big day in Moscow, Victory
hmm
Day.
yeah.
And so I thought what you wrote was absolutely fascinating. Um,
Okay.
because Victory Day, and yet, according to your reporting, um, Putin is not looking necessarily for victory in Ukraine. In fact, he may not want this war to end at all. But who is coming then on May 9th to Moscow? I mean, obviously, Donald Trump isn't going, as far as we know, right?
We have never heard any kind of confirmation. Definitely, people in Kremlin, people in Moscow wanted him to come, and there were speculations that still someone is trying to convince him, but I think that's not likely because for and once, I think a couple of months ago, he was asked by the journalists in the White House if he can consider coming to Moscow for Victory Day. And he said that no, it's too early. Uh, Definitely nothing changed since then. So we back then in March, I think he was very hopeful that he would be able to move the this ceasefire negotiations or even peace deal negotiations somewhere, and he would reach any kind of result by May. But now we see that by May nothing has been achieved. So
So, and that because not this morning's column, but the one before that, actually, I thought was also fascinating, Mikhail, about how, I mean, this relationship between Putin and Trump is possibly worsening, right? That now that Trump has done a mineral deal with Zelensky,
mhm.
he's publicly sort of wanting now Putin to stop bombing Ukraine, and that it does not seem to be happening. I mean, you tell us what you are hearing.
I think it was very clear and self-revealing the fact that Putin never could stop bombing civilian objects in Ukraine, even after they uh, even after the promised 3 days ceasefire. No, he didn't stop. He never can give Donald Trump even that present, even that concession. Although that was not easy. That was not difficult. That was
Mhm.
rather easy, just to stop bombing civilian objects. Just okay, if at least that was something he promised. He promised to focus only on the military objects, but he ignored even his own promise. So basically, we don't see any results in all those negotiations with Vladimir Putin and envoys of Donald Trump like Witkoff. Uh, and I think it's very clear with all those um, messages from the State Department that the State Department was close to moving on, and Donald Trump was close to moving on, because like if no result is achieved, it's becoming more and more clear that this is a path to nowhere. And basically, we discussed that with you, that Vladimir Putin's strategy is very clear. He wants to have double track negotiations, to talk about bilateral relationships with the United States, to talk about economy, to talk about any kind of possible cooperation, to talk about sanctions being lifted. At the same time, he wanted to separate Ukraine from that track, and he wants to postpone anything related to Ukraine. He has no interest in signing any deal or any ceasefire. So he's trying to put the blame on Zelensky. He's trying to pretend that he's not opposed to the peace, but the problem are the Ukrainians. And I think the longer he plays that game, the more obvious it becomes that that's just a game.
Well, and obviously the other sort of huge shift, right, in the last couple of weeks is the minerals deal with Ukraine, because Putin could string that along, right, while Trump and Zelensky, there was friction there.
Mm-hmm.
But that, since they sat down at the Pope's funeral at the Vatican and then signed this deal, that the tables have turned. I mean, what are you hearing about that relationship?
Um, I've heard that basically Putin or people surrounding him, for me, I think, that would be more accurate. For many months before that, the favorite idea in Putin's inner circle or among Russian diplomatic sources, among Russian bureaucrats, the most popular idea was the idea of Yalta, and it seemed like Putin was close to that. He was promoting the idea of three big global leaders, himself, Putin, Trump, and Xi Jinping getting together and redividing the world. But now it seems like that idea is less and less popular because it's not really easy to achieve it. But on the contrary, the most popular idea these weeks in Moscow is that, okay, we don't need that. We've never wanted that cooperation deal with Americans because it's all in vain. In Putin's mindset, he's been the most experienced and the most efficient leader in the world for 25 years. Because these days we're celebrating 25 years of his official presidency, and he managed to see 5 American presidents, and he knows that any negotiations, any cooperation with America is temporary. Presidents come and go. Probably if Donald Trump is the trustworthy, even if everything is fine with Donald Trump, who can give you a guarantee that in 4 years there's going to be this like-minded president in the United States? No guarantee. So he's not really interested in some kind of permanent relationships with America because he doesn't believe in that. He believes that the only permanent value that could be beneficial for him is chaos. For many years now, I think for 10 or maybe 15 years, he discovered that the only possible tactics in his international international policy is creating chaos in the world. And I remember I told you once the story of my interaction with one of the highest Russian politicians back in 2013, when he confessed to me that basically if Russia competes with the West just economically, based all the rules, it is doomed to lose because economically there is no way for Russia to win that competition. The only way out is to turn over the chessboard, not to play chess, but to break all the rules and to create chaos. And we see that during the last 15 years. And basically, creating chaos is something he's most successful in. And the current negotiations with Trump administration and trying to pretend that he's ready for negotiations with Ukrainian, but not really. That follows the same pattern. That's the same scheme. He's creating more chaotic um, events, a lot of chaos on the social media, a lot of chaos in Europe or among different diplomats all around the world, and that fits his paradigm.
So he's not concerned at all by the deal, the bond between Ukraine and the US suddenly appearing on paper, at least. I mean, we don't know right how the Republicans are going to develop and their attitudes towards Zelensky, but he's not concerned about sort of the new bromance between Trump and Zelensky. It doesn't worry.
He is and he's not, because we all know that this mineral deal is just the first step. There is nothing really substantial in it, because all those natural treasures of Ukraine might be worthy of 500 billion or even more, $500 billion. But to extract that, you need to spend 600 billion or even more. So that's not really the deal that is going to work tomorrow or in 5 years. That's some kind of manifesto of long-term relationships, or the pretext to start more broad cooperation or more extensive cooperation. And during one of the last negotiations, during one of the last conversations between Trump and Zelensky, Trump was very transparent, saying that he was interested in Ukrainian energy infrastructure. Basically, yes, that's impossible to develop all those minerals in Ukraine without usage of Ukrainian energy infrastructure. And actually, energy power plants and energy infrastructure is the most precious part of Ukrainian economy. Trump went as far as confessed to Zelensky that he wanted Ukrainian power plants in American ownership. And that's worthy. That's the real object of Trump administration. I think if they are very pragmatic and very cynical, and like they are not hiding their real interests, that would be very of high interest for American business. It would be harder to convince a lot of people to invest in Ukraine, in Ukrainian rare earths or Ukrainian minerals, but it's much easier to use something that is ready, that is prepared, and like it's easy to start exporting electricity to Europe. So Ukraine could be a very important partner and a very good territory to earn money. But this current mineral deal is not the deal that leads to that success. And Putin knows that. Putin knows that that's just the beginning. It's going to be so much harder to achieve broader success and broader cooperation. Is he happy? No, definitely he's not happy, because he has his eye on Ukraine for many years. And let's be honest. Before he started the invasion of Ukraine, he was very knowledgeable about Ukrainian economy for many and many years. Ukrainian oligarchs and Russian oligarchs were very close, and the collaboration between Russian oligarchs and Ukrainian oligarchs has started right from the collapse of Soviet Union from mid-90s, when privatization happened in Russia and in Ukraine. It happened at the same time with the same rules. No foreigners were allowed to Ukraine and to Russia. So it was always the inside job, and Russian oligarchs, Ukrainian oligarchs were close partners for all those years. Putin was, um, even after the Orange Revolution of 2004, when the political leadership of Ukraine uh, became pro-Western and not loyal to Putin and to Russia, he changed his attitude. He started working in Ukraine economically through Ukrainian businessmen, through Ukrainian oligarchs. So he knows how Ukrainian economy works, and he used to control it, or at least he used to think that there are certain leverages to control Ukraine um, with business tools. So he knows how it used to work, and is he happy with the deal? Yes and no. He knows that it's not the beginning. It's like it's just the first step towards
Yeah.
the real cooperation. But he knows how it works. So he knows that actually he is losing. He is losing his leverages, or
Yeah.
he lost them many years ago, and now he sees that Americans are about to come.
Right. And I mean, the other thing that's obviously interesting about him just continuing to bomb, um, regardless of what, Trump has asked of him, is that, Trump is prepared to concede, to give Russia pretty much everything they want out of the conflict, right? So what you're saying is that at this point that they don't want out of the conflict. They want that he wants chaos, as you say, and he wants to stay in it. I mean, and I think you've told me before, he can afford to do that, right? He can afford to just keep going. Is that? I mean, that's that he has for the most part the Russian people behind him, right?
Yeah, that is the problem. That he and somehow by the third year of the war, he found that uh, this war is affordable. That he is capable to continue it, and the problems of Russian economy are not that terrible. So he must stop it. Yes, inflation is high. Yes, some guys from some liberal-minded guys from the government are complaining, and yes, political elite and business elite really want deep inside. All of them want the ceasefire, the peace, anything. They were really happy when the negotiations with America started, and that was pretty much unanimous. But that doesn't relate to him. He doesn't see the necessity to stop war. On the contrary, this war itself is the best mechanism for him to keep those people low. He doesn't need them to speak out. He doesn't need to um, all those business leaders, as well as he doesn't need the war veterans to be back. He wants to continue keeping Russia in that wartime situation, to have much more control. Mm,
So
and
Mikhail,
yeah,
what
to get it.
Hillary then? How does he deal with? I mean, Steve Witkoff, the special envoy, who raised eyebrows, put it mildly, in American national security circles by showing up to meet with Putin, who was not alone, but special envoy Witkoff, who does not have diplomatic experience, showed up alone. What do you hear? I mean, what happens in those meetings? I mean, does he just roll them along? I mean, is he sort of laughing at us?
Um, Putin never change. Yeah, people change, but sometimes we see that some of them prefer not to change. And it was funny that he, I think we discussed it with you. He started using the same methods, the same tricks he was using many years ago with Donald Trump, with George W. Bush. when he started telling stories that he was praying for Trump's health after the assassination, he was definitely appealing to some values he really doesn't share. Um, Putin praying seriously, um, that that's not probable, but that's the game he's been playing all of his life. He has never managed to become the real spy, because he was not. He was just a mediocre bureaucrat working for KGB, but he never worked in the West, so he couldn't. He has always dreamt of being a spy, never becoming one. But now he's playing that role of the spy in the real life, trying to trick his partners, and that's his game. He loves um, creating the image of someone he's not. He loves telling people something they want to hear. So yes, he's trying to play that negotiable partner with Steve Witkoff, and I think he can be charming. He can say anything. He thinks that lie is not a sin but a virtue, because
Right.
you need to use any possible method to trick your
Right.
enemies, actually, or even your friends.
Well, one of the things, though, he has unquestionably, it would seem to me, lost, though, in the developments of the last few weeks, is, you and I, when we last talked, you said that really Putin would like Zelensky gone. And, Zelensky doesn't seem to be going anywhere, right? I mean, he seems to have certainly changed the tenor of his relationship with the United States. I don't know, what are you hearing about Zelensky's popularity in Ukraine right now? Is it high? Is it good?
I think that they are very realistic, and I think yeah, they won Zelensky gone hypothetically. They want Zelensky gone when their tanks come to Kiev and replace him with pro-Russian government. But and they wanted, for example, they were really trying to make Donald Trump get rid of Zelensky. Actually, the turning point in their game was the scandal in the Oval Office. And basically, that was the moment when they lost. Because that was the moment when Zelensky came to Washington, D.C., and he was pretty desperate. Before that, he was called dictator without elections. Before that, he knew that Trump doesn't want to keep him, and Trump had his own reasons to distrust Zelensky, including his first impeachment, which was clearly connected with Zelensky. So, and that moment, that meeting had to be probably the last meeting of Zelensky with the American president. He should have signed the minimal deal, and then he would be on his way out. But somehow that scandal turned Zelensky into the global hero. He became the hero at home. His approval ratings were not as bad as Russians were saying. They were saying that he was 4%, never existed. He was like 50%, which is not great for the nation at war, but which is like still enough. He was on a solid ground. But when he had that conversation with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, when he was verbally resisting, when he was verbally showing that he doesn't have any higher moral authority than his own dignity and than the pride of his nation, and he was very aggressive as well. And that was highly appreciated by a lot of Ukrainians. So his approval ratings skyrocketed after that scandal. And not only in Ukraine, for Europe, for many European politicians and for many people in Europe, he has become another, once again, probably for the first time, really after 2022, when he was the icon in the world. Then his after that, his glory was not became not so um, shining bright. And again, he came back. He has become again the leader of the world, who was eagerly showing that he's going to resist any, I don't know how to put it, to any dictator, any bully, anyone who is trying to dictate him what to do. First time he resisted 3 years ago. He showed the world how to resist to Vladimir Putin, and now he showed the world how to resist Donald Trump. Incomparable, but still, that was a very emotional moment and very impressive for a lot of people. So yes, he is basically back, and he is. I don't think that there is a politician in Ukraine, the real politician, who would dare to run against Zelensky if there is the electoral campaign. There is only one clear contender. That's Valery Zaluzhny, now a Ukrainian ambassador to the UK, former commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian army. Obviously, Valery Zaluzhny is more tough. He's more anti-Russian. He's not a pro-Russian politician. But with the current situation, he's not crazy. He will never start running against Zelensky in the moment when he's the symbol. And definitely, no election is possible when there is no ceasefire or there is no peace. So that's out of question. If Zelensky is staying or not, he is.
Yeah. And then walk me through. So, will President Xi be there on May the 9th in Moscow for quote unquote Victory Day? And I ask that because obviously, the whole driving reason we're led to believe that, that Trump wants to cozy up to Putin so much is largely to do with the fact he'd like there to be daylight between Putin and Xi. He'd like, he thinks it's to America's advantage if there's daylight, between Russia and China. But, is Xi coming on May the 9th? And what are you hearing about that relationship? Has anything changed?
We have heard all the confirmations, and nothing has been said that she was not coming. Although Indian Prime Minister Modi was to come, and his visit, at least officially, it was announced that he was not coming, and even his Minister of Defense, who had to be his substitute, is not coming as well. But at the same time, it's important that Putin is not the only negotiator with Americans, and his envoy on international investments, Kirill Dmitriev, who wants to be the special channel, the back channel, and who was the one who was touring Witkoff in Moscow and who was mediating that dialogue. He's not the only channel of negotiations. Putin created the system where there are a lot of different channels, and they are playing their own tune, and they are trying to. Sometimes they contradict, and sometimes that's deliberate. So we have at least it was remarkable that during the dialogue with Steve Witkoff in Kremlin, Russian foreign minister was not present. There was Putin's assistant Yuri Ushakov, long time his foreign policy advisor, and former Russian ambassador to the U.S. And Kirill Dmitriev, who is the younger generation. And actually, Kirill Dmitriev was born in Kiev, so he's needed for that kind of negotiations as the person who would always start telling, "I'm from Kiev. I was born there. I know them better." But Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov was not there. And for example, Sergei Naryshkin, the person who is the head of Russian foreign intelligence, and who is probably the most important negotiator with Americans during the last month, was not there as well. But we know that Naryshkin spoke at least once or maybe more times with CIA Director Radcliffe, and he announced another round or maybe personal meeting with CIA Director, and he looks like the person to have the most frequent contacts with Americans. So they are trying hard to persuade the United States that Americans are more important than China. They are playing that role, and they are creating that myth about Kissinger reverse. They are trying their best to show that that's something that is very possible. That a possible political alliance of Russia and the United States against China is very close. So and they are hinting about that, and they are trying to sell that. So they cannot sell peace with Ukraine, but they can sell that hypothetical alliance, not against China, but like they are trying to persuade Americans that it's possible. We can be farther from China. We can organize that if you ask us.
And what reporting suggests the relationship with China really is? The Russian relationship.
It's very pragmatic.
I mean, they share a huge border, right?
They share a huge border. China is a very important importer of Russian oil and gas. At the same time, China is a very important exporter of technology. Without Chinese technologies, Russia would have been isolated, just like Soviet Union once was. I told you that, for example, in Moscow during the last 2 years, the taxis, all the taxis are Chinese now. Although 3 years ago they were cars made in Germany mostly. So dependence on China is growing more and more. It was a very important moment in 2022, right when International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin. And that was probably the worst day in his life, because that was a very dramatic signal to his elite, to the members of his inner circle and his government, that like he is now indicted. He is a criminal, and that's assured by International Criminal Court. But occasionally, that was exactly the week when Xi Jinping made an official visit to Moscow, and even more, it was not widely covered in international media, but he lived in his own residency. So can you imagine that? Chairman of Chinese People's Republic has his own residency in Moscow, his own palace. Yes, he has. And for almost a week, Moscow was paralyzed because no one was moving, because all the streets close to the palace of Chinese leader were blocked. All the streets surrounding Kremlin were blocked. But that was a very important moment for Putin, and Xi Jinping, that moment, gave him that support that was needed so much. He showed the world that no, he's not the pariah. He's not the outcast. Maybe International Criminal Court wants him, but it's okay. And that was the turning point in the global perception of Putin's regime. And last year we saw that there was a BRICS summit in the city of Kazan, and leaders of Brazil and South Africa and India and Egypt came there. So he is trying again and again to prove that he is not isolated for Russian media, for Russian propaganda, it's very important to show that the number of guest celebrities for all those summits or for Victory Day celebration, there is a long list, and that's a very important list to prove that Russia is the global player.
It's absolutely fascinating. Anything unusual you're expecting then on Victory Day, this coming one, May 9th?
It's really hard to tell because emotionally, for every Russian, May 9th is a day hard to describe, because for many years it was very important for the nation as whole, and it was always the Memorial Day. It was a very sad day, um, of memories of all those fallen and all those killed, and all those people who died in the concentration camps. And like "never again" has always been the most important slogan of this day. And then during Putin's years, it was completely overturned. And somehow around 2015 or 2010, 2015, the slogan has become "we can do it again." And it has become somehow the symbol of Putin's militarism. And it has become um, the Empire Day. And I have to read and I have to watch a lot of Russian propaganda, and it's becoming harder and harder every day. And I think the 9th of May will be the worst day for me, because I personally have to watch it, and like from aesthetic, from moral point of view, that's really that hurts a lot, because like yeah, it really hurts to watch your country becoming fascist. It hurts even more when you see that trajectory, when you see that everyone does that. You see enormous proportions. You see people with no shame at all, and they are trying to speculate. They are trying to use everything sacred that was in Russian culture that happened in the 20th century. They are using the memory of soldiers and generals and ordinary people. They are using the best works of Russian literature of that time. Uh, like basically all Russian literature of um, uh, before the war, during the war, after the war was anti-fascist, and actually it was not. It was anti-dictatorial. Like any of those great poets or great filmmakers current Russian propaganda is using, they would hate it. They did everything they could to fight against. Um, Actually, both Stalin and Hitler, all of them hated Soviet totalitarianism as much as they hated Nazi totalitarianism. So, and the way how current Russian propaganda produces that imaginary um, 21st century um, neo-fascist empire, that that looks disgusting for me. And but I think I will be really sad, but I think we should talk next week, and I will
Yes.
share you new narratives, because that's going to be the highest peak of Russian propaganda. That's the
Right.
most important day in terms of that neo-fascist philosophy and ideological brainwashing, and a lot of new narratives um, are spread
Right.
right now. I think the most important one that I can share right now is the switch in Russian propaganda. Now the enemy number one is Europe. They are calling it Eurofascism. They are comparing European Union to the Third Reich, or calling it Fourth Reich. And I've seen a lot of caricatures, a lot of cartoons, uh, with Americans and Russians together fighting against European fascism. So it changed so quickly. I remember that 5 years ago, Americans were the evil and Europeans were just weak people, and Russian propaganda felt sorry about poor Europeans who are in moral decay, but we sympathized with them, and they were portrayed as victims of America. And now it's completely different, quite the opposite. Americans are friends, so Russian propaganda, although we don't see any progress in negotiations, but the Russian propaganda right now loves Americans and praises Americans. But Europeans are the bad guys, and they are the fascists according to the current propagandist narrative.
So I mean, I've never asked you this, but it occurs to me because obviously your English is so good and you're so excellent at distilling what's going on in Russia for us over here. But does anyone in Russia read you, Mikhail? I mean, I realize you write in English here on Substack, but is there a Russian version that goes out anywhere?
Actually, my self positioning in Russia is I'm a writer, and I'm writing about history. So if you ask me about my texts on Substack, for example, if they are published in Russian, no, I don't do that. Although I have my Telegram channel for example, and I
Okay.
publish some texts in Russian. And for example, definitely I have very loyal audience because my Telegram channel is the first and so far I think the only Telegram channel to be officially banned in Russia.
So that's helpful.
I have the collection of most awards from Russian government. I am myself foreign agent, sentenced in absentia for spreading fake news about Russian army for 8.5 years. The NGO, the foundation I started is labeled as undesirable organization, and my Telegram channel is banned, and my recent book is banned. So that means that they care. That means that they think that I spread some important information they don't want me to share with the Russian audience. But at the same time, I know that a lot of Russians consume that information. So it's not the demand is high as it may be. It's not higher than 15% of the population of Russia, which is a lot, but not the majority. But it can never be the majority because we discussed it with you. Majority of Russians are really traumatized and they want to pretend that nothing is happening. They want to close their eyes and see no evil, hear no evil, see no war, speak about no war, and hear no war. So that's the choice, the deliberate choice of a lot of people. But if we're talking about the minority, which is huge, 10 to 15% living in Russia's biggest cities, they know, they read, they watch, they are the consumers of Russian independent media in exile, including myself.
Gosh, well, you are right. I do want to talk to you once you've gone through. I'm assuming you're going to have to stay up late, the time difference, right? Or get up early or whatever it is to catch it. But I would love it, and I think everyone on here would love it if we can do a debrief after quote unquote Victory Day.
And we're going to see who's going to come and who's not.
Exactly. Mikhail, as always, completely fascinating. I think, we could have probably all listened to you all day, but you have got a book to get into your publisher I have something I need to get into my.
Yeah, sure.
So
Thank you so much. Thank you for this.
we will talk again in a few days. But thank you.
Thanks for
Take
having
care.
me. Bye-bye.
Bye.